Hi, my name's LaniGarfield with I Want to See Productions. Last year, I had the pleasure of being a photography mentor to a wonderful student at Palm Springs High School. His name's Garcia, and he recently asked me, what does it take to get into politics or become mayor? And I thought that I would ask some of the past mayors of Palm Springs to come talk to him about it. So now enjoy this conversation between Garcia and the past Palm Springs mayors.
I'm Geoff Kors, mayor of the city of Palm Springs. I was sworn in as mayor in December 2019, and I'm currently the mayor.
Hi, my name is Robert Moon, and I was mayor of the city of Palm Springs from 2015 till 2019.
My name is Ronald Oden. I go by Ron. I was mayor for one term, 4 years, from 03 to 07.
So how was your term as mayor?
During the COVID pandemic, I would say it's been a really busy term. We were only a couple months in when we had to make the decision here in Palm Springs to shut down most of our businesses and issue a stay-at-home order before the state did. We were one of the first cities in California to do that. And with that, of course, came just a lot of hardship for our residents and our businesses, and for the city and city staff, significant decrease in revenue that we would normally receive. So a lot of work to make cuts so we can have a balanced budget. And I do a lot of work on tourism and in the business community, the liaison to all those types of businesses. So really working with them to help them survive during this and coming up with creative ways to have people do takeout and online shopping and promoting that those businesses were still available to be open. Also working in a leadership role at the state level to get funding for cities so we can provide support, rent relief and eviction bans and money for our businesses. We did a lot of webinars for our residents and businesses to educate them on what's available. So it's been a busy year, but there's been other work is going forward as well. Today I had meetings on a ordinance that I'm working on with Mayor Pro Tem Holstage that would ban plastic and disposable products in the food industry. And of course, we're looking at phasing it in so we don't add cost to businesses during the COVID pandemic, but we still want to be a leader on issues like sustainability. I had a call yesterday working on police reform issues with Councilmember Garner and our police chief, talking about how we're going to bring in a consultant to work with us on what we can do to improve in the police department and how we could do more funding in the community to prevent some of the issues and the economic and racial disparities that lead people sometimes to join gangs. So there's still a lot of other really interesting, exciting work, but a lot of the day is taken up by COVID and the pandemic.
Being mayor was probably one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. I've had a very fortunate life. I mean, I spent 26 years as a naval officer, which had some great moments in it, and I also spent 17 years in the corporate world. But being mayor of the city of Palm Springs was really the best job I ever had. It was an opportunity for me to give back to the community and to really interface with the people here that I know so well in our city of Palm Springs.
You know, this city means so much to me. I have a connection with this place that's spiritual. And my service here was, I approached it the same way as I approached service when I pastored. Almost like these people are my parishioners. Whether they voted for me or not doesn't matter. I now have to serve them. And I did that to the best of my ability. So it was a wonderful experience for me too. Because you don't give without receiving.
What was your proudest accomplishments as mayor?
When I ran the first time, I was running on a few things, and one of them was having more ethics and transparency in our government. And when I was elected to council, former Mayor Rob Moon was elected as mayor, and we worked together to pass probably the strongest ethics and transparency laws of any small city in the state of California, way beyond what the state and federal government require. And I think that was really important to restore trust after some issues the city had had before we were both elected. So I'm really proud of that. I'm very proud that I used my relationships in Sacramento and understanding how the budget works and legislation works to advocate for Palm Springs and help get $10 million for us to address homelessness in the city, some of which will hopefully be used to transform our hotel into an apartment complex for people who would otherwise be homeless. So I'm really proud of that work. And the creation of our own power agency, Desert Community Energy. We're the first city in the Inland Empire that is almost all 100% carbon-free power now. And I chair that board and I help lead that effort for the city. So that's what's so great. You get to really work on your passions in these kind of jobs. And those are some of the things I'm really proud of.
That while I was mayor, we really had a renaissance of the city of Palm Springs. I mean, the city was booming, people were coming to Palm Springs, people were learning who Palm Springs was, and I was very proud to be a part of that because as a mayor, you are a figurehead, a representative of the city, and I had a lot of opportunities to be out in the public and in front of people, both here and elsewhere, and talk about what a great place Palm Springs is to live, to work, and to play. And it takes a village, but a lot of us worked very hard on this, and we really got Palm Springs up to a really level that it deserves to be as far as recognition as a really wonderful city.
My proudest accomplishment was opening up the city. Opening it up in terms of business, and I became the first chairman of the Human Rights Commission. We hadn't had a council that was very young. At that time, I was very young. I didn't have any of this stuff, this great stuff, but I also had children. And I know the importance of creating opportunities for children. And so we renovated the pool. We invested in our different centers in the city. In the North End, in the Desert Highland area, we invested there, but we also did at Demuth Park and we did at Ruth Hardy Park. To make sure that the children in our community from infancy, very young, to our older young people had something to do. So we also put in the skate park. Skateboarding was really a big deal. I'm just really proud of the fact that so many groups that were disenfranchised or felt that they were disenfranchised, we were able to build a bridge to those communities that really made a difference in our city.
How was your path on becoming mayor?
It's interesting. It wasn't in my plan as an adult, but it was when I was younger. When I was a teenager, I was always an activist. I worked on political campaigns starting at 13. I was very involved in politics, and I always knew I wanted to do change. I wanted to do social change. I wanted to work on environmental change. I wanted to work on civil rights issues. I was really passionate about those. And so I was involved in that through high school and college, and it was a real main reason I went to law school. When I was probably 15, everyone assumed I would go to college and come back and run for office. And at the time, being gay, although no one knew it other than me, that wasn't really an option. There weren't any gay elected officials. When I was a senior in high school, Harvey Milk was elected, and that was this huge thing. And 9 months later, he was killed as a result. And so it sort of took that dream of being in office as a way to make change away. And I looked at other alternatives, and so I went to law school. And I worked for the Environmental Protection Agency and the ACLU, and I had my own civil rights practice with a couple partners. And I got to do the kind of things I wanted to do, but in a different way. So I was always really engaged in that. I was on boards of both environmental and civil rights organizations. But then I got an offer to become the executive director of Equality California, which then was just a small 2-person organization. And that's one way I got to know one of our former mayors, Ron Oden, was on the board and became the vice president of that organization when I was the executive director. And so I spent 10 years there working to pass LGBT and other civil rights legislation, helping with the case to win marriage equality and doing a lot of that kind of work. And when I left there, part of it was because I wanted to be back here full-time, not just part-time. And I continued to do that kind of work through the National Center for Lesbian Rights, because I was able to work from home in Palm Springs. And then one of our council members decided not to run for re-election, and some people said, you should run. And I'm like, yeah, I should. That would be great. That would be fun. I think I'd be good at it. There are a lot of things I'd love to see in the city. So I ran for council, and I was on council for 4 years. And when I ran for re-election in the current system we're in, I became mayor just a year ago.
Well, I think my whole life really prepared me for that. My whole life has been based on wanting to serve other people. Sort of, my parents raised us that way. It just runs in our family to do public service. And that's why I was attracted to the Navy and that service to my country. So my whole life has been one of serving people, looking for efficient ways to do things and getting things done. So when I came to the government, I think that was the way I wanted to work as mayor of the city, get things done. But we did get a lot of things done. We moved forward aggressively. You have to be brave. You have to be somewhat aggressive, but not so aggressive that you make people angry or intimidate people or offend them. You have to push people gently to get things done. And you have to build a consensus. Nothing gets done really in any area of life without a degree of consensus. It works a lot better if you have consensus of the people around you. And sometimes you have to do a real sales job on people to convince them that your way and the way you think should be done is the best way. But then on the other corollary of that, which I've learned over the years, is when you're expressing how you think something should be done, you have to learn to listen to the feedback from people, because sometimes you hear things that you go, I hadn't considered that, and you're right. You have a better way, you have a better idea. So keeping that open mind and being willing to take feedback from other people and to weigh all the different options and work out what is the best interest of all the people overall on this decision, that was really something that was very important to me, and I felt it worked well for me. But it's something I had learned over the many years of in my other careers.
What's really interesting is that when I moved here, at that point I knew this was home, so I had to get here. I didn't know one person in Palm Springs. And 4 years later, I was an elected official in a city where I knew no one. And I was a minority person in a city that had a 1% African American population. How does that happen? Well, I think it happens when you have purpose. There's nothing more powerful than knowing who you are, that you are where you're supposed to be, and that you're doing what you're supposed to do. It's like that combination, that trilogy is explosive.
What is it that makes a leader?
I think what makes a leader is someone who wants to get something done and goes about and does it. And that could be, right, as a mayor, it could be working in a nonprofit, it could be on a board, it could be in your personal life. But if you want to accomplish something, just go out and figure out how to get it done. And if people like what you're doing, they're going to want to join you. And to me, a really good leader is not someone who sees himself as a leader, but as a participant with others in accomplishing something great.
The list of things that makes a leader, I think, are endless. And it starts at a very young age. And I think some of it is based upon actually traits, characteristics, abilities that people are born with. But a lot of it is learned too. I think as we all start out young and we watch people and we see people who are leaders, it's very important to watch them and see how they work and to learn from them. Being a good leader means you have to be thoughtful of other people. You have to be always observing other people and seeing what they need and what they expect from you, and you meet those expectations. If people feel that another person understands them, knows what they need, and is willing to help them achieve what they need, they look at that person as a leader. And as people start to look at you as a leader, you start to feel more like a leader. And being a leader also means you accept responsibility. And when things go wrong, you say, wow, I didn't make the best decision on that. I'm sorry. Those are two very important words. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Let's regroup here and let's discuss this and let's move forward and we'll try this. That's also leadership. You know, people who never admit they're wrong, people who always have to be right, they're not really true leaders. They may be somehow placed in a position of power, but they're not real leaders.
What does it take to be a good leader during these times of crisis?
You know, I think at a time of crisis like this, it's so important to amass as much information as you can and share it with the public. Because people were scared, they still are, and they're worried about their health, of course, first and foremost. They're worried about being able to pay their rent or their mortgage, put food on the table. So I think part of it is being available for the public and letting them know that you're on top of this, you know, that you're on calls with the White House, you're on calls with the governor's office, you're on calls with the region, and getting the facts out. I think it's really being there for staff who are going through such a tough time at the city and letting them know, you know, we're doing everything we can to keep them safe and to protect their jobs. And I think it's just really listening. You know, during a time like this, you need to listen and let people sometimes who are frustrated because they can't open their business and they're worried if they're going to be able to survive or if they're going to have to close permanently, knowing they're being heard and that you hear them and you're brainstorming with them on ideas. And I think more than anything is just letting people know you really feel the same things they're feeling. We're all going through this and that we're going to get through this, right? That this is an amazing place. This city, this valley is an amazing place. And one of the things I just say so often in public is that we're going to get through this and we'll be stronger because we care about each other. You know, I've lived in big cities where I don't think I've ever felt what you feel here. And it's to let people know that we're like a family here. If you're having a problem, we're going to figure it out. We're going to help connect you with someone who can go shopping for you because you have a health issue and you are scared to go to the store. And letting people know you care, because I think we all care. And I think that's really important right now.
These are challenging times with the coronavirus and all the impact that's had upon our society, upon our economy, upon our residents, upon everyone and everything that is part of our lives. But if we think back about what our parents went through, what our grandparents went through, and going back and back and back, people have suffered through wars, they've suffered through plagues, they've suffered through depressions, they've suffered through really terrible things. But you know, the reason we don't think about those so much is because they got through all of them. They came through the other end. No matter how horrible some of them were, they came through. And so, you know, we'll come through this. Humans do that. You know, we're resilient, we're resourceful, we're strong, and we'll get through. And this too will pass.
One of the key things is to lead by example. I think in any generation that's important, but considering the times in which we live today, example is so important, and truth is so important. To live your truth, to tell the truth, and to be that example. But I have hope.
Do you have any advice for a student or anybody following in the same path as you?
You know, I think the path forward for anyone interested in that is, what's the passion? Why would you want to be a mayor? Why would you want to be in politics? Like, what drives you? For me, it was, you know, helping people, changing civil rights laws, passing non-discrimination protections, and really leading, whether a small city or a big city, on climate change issues. And so I think it's the passion of why you want to make change that leads you into a job like this, rather than someone saying, I want to grow up to be mayor because I want to be the mayor, right? Well, what does that mean unless you're going to do something to help your friends and society and businesses and the planet? So I think it's that passion of what you want to change that should lead someone to want to go into politics.
You know, my one wish I have for you is that you will enjoy this life, because believe me, now turning 71 this month, I look back and I think it went by so fast. So even though you're only 18, don't waste a day, because every day is valuable. Every day you should cherish. Every day you should grasp and achieve something, have goals and achieve those goals, and move forward steadily. You don't have to go rushing, but move forward steadily and don't waste time. And have fun. You know, life is too short not to have fun. You know, they always say it's not the destination, but it's the trip, and that's true. You know, the most important thing in life is knowing who you are, and growing and adapting to things as you have to, and having friends along the way. The most valuable thing you have in life are friends. So enjoy life, have a lot of friends, do good work, work hard, and enjoy this life, because it's a great life.
Be who you are. Sometimes people don't understand how unique they are. And I'm not going to tell you that I understood that myself, but it's so important. When you're young, if you start that journey, it makes it all the more meaningful.
This has been a wonderful experience meeting all these mayors of Palm Springs. They're all intelligent, they're all born leaders, and they've all taught me many things. And I just want to say that I appreciate everything that they have done for this city, and that hopefully I'll follow in their footsteps.
Thank you for this interview process, and I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged as I think about the future. There are young people like you who will be the ones to make a difference. So I thank you.